Siyo from the Res. I'm Kinley.
And I'm Colton.
And this is the official Cherokee Nation podcast.
Feeling good today? How are you feeling? You got the trucker hat on, you got the denim on, casual Friday.
The fit is fitting.
Feeling good, that means the podcast is going to go well. So that's good.
Yeah, I know you can't see us right now, but Colton has the great gorget.
There's always a debate about that. Do you go French pronunciation? Do you go English pronunciation? How do you do it?
But you made it.
Yeah, I'm starting to dabble, getting a little tradish with it sometimes. I throwing some gorgets together, throwing some bracelets together, throwing some earrings, those coveted long earrings that everybody likes to wear.
Well, speaking of art, we have such a great guest for you guys today.
Personally, she's somebody that I've known for a long time. She's been in my life since the beginning. She's a dear family friend and a self-described bonus aunt to myself and others in Mays County. On top of being an artist and national treasure, she's an entrepreneur, dog mom, and a fitness fanatic.
For those of you that can't see, she is dressed head to toe in denim. She's rocking that signature pony like a true Cherokee icon. Traci is a Cherokee artist. She's a Cherokee National Treasure and well-known across Indian country and beyond. Well, welcome, Traci. We're so excited to have you on here today. And just like a lot of the people that'll be listening, I also have never met you. Can you tell us what else you do and where you're from and just some interesting stuff about you so we can get to know you better?
Besides being an artist, I would also say that I'm an entrepreneur. Second-generation artist, second-generation national treasure now since 2020. My dad was inducted in 2012. So I love creating art as well as the business of art.
You're from Pryor, right? Mm-hmm. So just tell us some about growing up there and growing up with a dad who is an artist.
So I grew up between actually Pryor and Locust Grove in a community or a housing authority ran by the Cherokee Nation called Cherokee Heights. Lived in 5 different houses out there from the age of 1 till I graduated high school. So my community of friends, extended family, is still as strong today as it was then. When the series Res Dogs came out, I kind of laughed because it was like Sterling was in my head and followed us around as kids. Like Gerald Walford out there, he's original Res Dog. He can tell you some stories. He knows them all. We were neighbors. So I just had a fantastic childhood. Being the daughter of an artist, you have to put that into a timeline of perspective there. My dad really did not, I would say, start his full-time art career until about 1980. And he was nationally known around 1987, 88, when I graduated high school in 87. So, you have that in the shadow syndrome, and you really don't realize how well-known a parent is until you see them in action. And the first time I went to Santa Fe, to me, he was just dad. The disciplinarian, the person that, if you have a close relationship, a daughter-dad relationship that I had, you measure every man in your life by your dad.
Absolutely.
And so when I was in Santa Fe for the first time, and you see literally hundreds of people in line to get his autograph on a print, it just blew my mind because I had no idea. I really had no idea. I was awestruck by my dad. So, he was just an exceptional human being. He really was. Great role model, best friend, mentor, all the things.
I grew up also with a dad who is an artist. And it's just one of those things that he's instilled so much in me that I didn't really realize I had until I grew up. And I can see that in you as well. I think that's amazing. And as an artist yourself, how did you find your own identity?
As an artist, finding your own voice through your art, for me, it took time. Because when you have somebody that is so, number one, prolific, famous, and so you want to differentiate your work from his, and so you tend to go in a totally different path, paint totally different. But at the same time, for me, I had to incorporate, because my dad was self-taught artist, and I'm basically self-taught. I spent my senior year in the principal's office because I got kicked out of art. And when I came down to NSU, I took no art classes, and that's a whole nother story because I got into it with the art professor. For me, It took a while to find my voice using the technique that he showed me. It's like having all the tools in your tool chest, but you don't feel confident enough at the time to use those until your skill gets better and better. And that's what happened with me over time. I found my voice. And besides my dad, I would say my biggest influence that I really looked up to as an artist was Dana Tiger. And I still do. Love her to death. One of my closest people in my circle. I'm going to her premiere at Circle Cinema this Sunday.
The documentary that's coming out, that looks really good. And I noticed it was produced by a Cherokee citizen.
Lauren.
And she was involved with our film office, I know, for a while. And, you know, she's friends with Sterling and all that. And so she's really on the forefront there of the Cherokee film and telling Native stories.
I just kind of want to go back to what Traci said, that she got sent to the principal's office. What happened? Can you talk about it? Or
Sure. My high school art teacher, I took art all through junior high and all through high school as an elective. And my senior year, her idea of art was taking Xerox copies of a picture or whatever and just handing it out and telling you to draw it. And so I told her, this is no art class. You're not teaching us a thing. And that got me sent to the principal's office, where me and Mr. Sharp became really good friends because I was in there the whole year. I had my own little private class for that hour. I brought my beadwork. I started beading a cane and just doing different projects on my own.
That's something that I've noticed, that both you and your dad are quoted as being able to get the art from your emotions and put it onto canvas. And I feel like that's something that a lot of artists struggle with. How do you tap into that? You know, obviously you were not inspired by a Xerox copy, you know. So,
No.
You know, how does that go from brain to canvas?
You know, I think as an artist, and I can only speak for myself, I'm fueled by my emotions. I'm fueled by what's going on in my everyday life. And it comes out on canvas. It's almost like sort of a therapy. So you have to purge yourself of these ideas. So I don't know what's going to come out on canvas after my truck's been stolen. I don't know. But, you know, it always tends to come out that way. It's kind of like a release. It's a release that you have to purge yourself of.
we have listeners out there that might not know what we're talking about when we're talking about your stolen truck.
I'm trying to remember the year. I was doing a show in Las Vegas, and I told Johnny, I said, I'm going to paint in the booth today because I had most of my booth set up. And I said, because I was preparing for Cherokee Art Market. And so we walk out into the parking lot, and I see the trailer, but I don't see no truck. And your first thought is, did I park it somewhere else? Did I, squirrel brain? And then the truck is gone. What was interesting is I didn't panic. Truck's gone. I start going in my mind immediately, plan B. How do you get your stuff home? They found it in Laughlin. I was able to drive it home with the screwdriver in the ignition.
Oh, my God.
And then got a camper for it, fixed the things. And there was nothing major wrong with it. Like I said, I drove it home. Uh-huh. And then I get home from Denver just this week on Monday night, wake up, same truck, stolen again in front of my studio. Yeah.
In Pryor, America, of all places.
In Pryor, America, on a very well-traveled road. Las Vegas, you can kind of, and it's not even a felony in Las Vegas to steal a vehicle. But I never thought that would happen in my hometown of Pryor.
Yeah.
I just did. It still seems surreal. And at the same time, I can hear my dad telling me, life goes on. You've got your home, you got your family. Those lessons, when you're that close to a parent, they're always in your mind. And then so you take a negative, you turn it into a positive because you don't have no choice. Mm-hmm. Because life goes on.
Yeah.
There's still shows, commitments, and things that I've got to take care of. And so I just keep moving forward like he told me to. And that is just my philosophy.
Well, that's definitely a good way to look at it. That's very good. Is Pryor big? Because I feel like, I don't know. I don't think I've been there. That's what I'm saying. Somebody's probably there with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I never thought of Pryor as big until I started working here, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Pryor, big city boy," and I was like,
"Pryor, really?"
Yeah, I know. Really? That's.
Well, if you're listening out there, we're gonna find Traci's truck.
Yeah, keep
a look.
It's a white Ford Doodley with a camper. If they haven't ripped it off.
And what is the license plate? Well,
Indian art.
Okay, we're looking for you.
Yes,
we'll find you.
Yes.
This might be the effective way to do it.
Yeah, for real.
Tried social media, and I want to give a shout out to everybody on social media that shared my post, and the Cherokee marshals, people that have reached out, casinos, just people that know who I am, know what I do. Hey, we're looking on our cameras, we're doing all this. I mean, just the outpouring of help through social media and things like that. I mean, it's just been really overwhelming.
That's good. Whenever you're talking about like being an artist from younger and also till now, how has your style changed over the years?
Initially, and like I was talking about earlier, being taught by my dad, so he's going to teach me his style, his way of doing things, because he was self-taught. So that comes from a background of experimentation. If you don't know how to do something, and you got to remember, when my dad was starting out, there is no YouTube, there's no Google, there's no this. It is, you ask a fellow artist, hey, can you show me this technique or something like that. So that is how I was taught. So in the beginning, I would say my early pieces, it's kind of interesting because it's almost like somebody else painted them. And you know how artists now are doing, they'll take an image and they tear it into strips and they weave it like into a basket. I was doing that in 7th grade. That piece is still at my studio. I was thinking, wow. And I just seen it the other day and I was kind of laughing. I was like, I have just tried all sorts of things that you forget about as an artist. So over time, your style changes, your technique gets better, and then I've always been the kid in the class that had their hand up asking why. So I've always been that person of how do you do it, why do you do it? So I think that has followed with me through my whole life, especially in my art. Now I can go, if I have a question about, you can get online or you can ask another artist. But that is the part that I really miss most with my dad not being here. And this year's, it'll be 13 years in April. Having that, somebody to bounce ideas off of, a creative person. I don't really have that anymore. And my boyfriend, I try to bounce ideas off of, and he just looks at me like a deer in headlights.
Is he an artist too?
No, not at all. No, he's more engineer, more mechanically inclined.
So then you have that, your creative brain is you. Then you have the more logical,
analytical, the deer in the headlights look. When,
yeah.
I try to explain something to him. He says I talk in circles. In order to get there, we got to do all those circles because in our mind, that's how it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about you being artistically minded, but also you have a degree in business.
Yeah, and that's an interesting story. I'm the oldest in my family. I was, from an early age, my dad expected a lot out of me. And as a grown adult, you look back and you have two young people, 19 and 21, 22. They had no idea what they were doing because Dad used to tell me, you were our experiment. We had no idea what we were doing. But with that being said, he taught me a lot of good life lessons. And he expected a lot of me. I got my first job at 14. He told me never to depend on a man, build my own credit. I had my own checking account. I had a summer job with Cherokee Nation, and I got my first American Express at 14 because he was like trying to prepare me for adulthood, and it has served me well. When I was probably in junior high, he started preparing me. Now, when you graduate high school, you need to go to college. I mean, he had this plan for me. It almost sometimes felt like I didn't have a choice because I didn't want to disappoint him. So when I graduated high school, I was able to get into NSU and went down there my first week. This person, my guidance counselor, asked me, so what do you want to do? They ask every student that question. I'm a new college student. I have no idea. So I've been exposed to all these different jobs, and my mind is just everywhere. And actually, when I started, I wanted to work for Cherokee Nation, Bureau of Indian Affairs. Artist was like last on my list. Open a gallery, so I'm listing all these things. And the very last thing I list, I said, well, and possibly an artist, because my dad was an artist. And by this time, he's doing well. He's nationally known. And I remember the instructor said, you will never make your living at doing your art. And I said, and I stood up out of my chair and I said, I'll name you 5 people right now that make their sole living at doing their art. And I named them off. He says, well, I've never heard of any of them. So I leave, matter in a wet hand. I go across the street to the bookstore and I get a book of degrees. True story. I take it down, get me some nachos or a hot dog, whatever I ate. And I'm flipping through because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be taking any art classes. and I come across business administration, and I'm looking, and it tells you every semester what to take. I'm like, okay, roadmap. And it was literally in one day that I went from thinking about taking art classes to business administration. And that's how that happened. And in 4.5 years, I got my degree in business administration. And that has been invaluable, to answer your question. Have you ever heard of this saying, God laughs when you make plans because he has other plans for you? That's exactly what happened to me that day. So it was not meant for me to go this route. He wanted me to hang a far right and go this route. And it has been invaluable to what I do today. So when I graduated college, I was able to take what my dad was already doing with certain companies, licensing, with calendars. He was actually, I would say, on the forefront of that, because there was not a lot of art, especially in this area, that was doing that. Calendars, getting paid a royalty, understanding contracts, copyright, things like that. So I was able to take that, and I told him, I said, it's great to get paid 7 to 15%, depending on the company. But why don't we take our money, buy equipment, and do it in-house and get all the money? And so literally that's how that started. And it has just grown exponentially over the years.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, it's something that a lot of artists, especially starting out, don't take into account. There's this idea of either being artist-minded or business-minded, but I feel like to make your living, you have to be both.
You have to be both. You got to be equal left brain, right brain. You got to understand taxes. In my last semester of school here at NSU, I took tax accounting. I was like that far from an accounting degree. I could have stayed and got an accounting degree with a few more classes. But, having that understanding, and it's just important, especially if you're going to do it full time. So, I've been doing it full time ever since '93 when I graduated college here at NSU.
And that brings me to another point. For the young artists out there, especially Indigenous artists in communities, what kind of advice would you give them to grow or to chase their dreams?
I would say in this day and time, they have so much more access than, say, what my dad had. When I was in college, the internet was just starting.
Yeah.
We were learning DOS when I was in college, ones and zeros. So for an up-and-coming artist, I would say do your research, talk with other artists. If you see somebody successful, figure out how they're doing it and how it would fit within your plan. Not necessarily copy them, but they've already set a roadmap. So as a young artist, I would see who you want to be, how you want to chase your dreams, and then start doing your research, because you just have a plethora of information out there that was not available 20, 30 years ago. So not saying that it's not as hard. You still have to do your due diligence, and you still have to work hard to achieve those goals. And it has to be a passion. Has to be a passion, because as a full-time artist, when you think about it in just the scope of everything, I gamble for a living. I don't have a weekly paycheck. I don't have these things, and I'm selling something that's not bread and milk. I never forget that when somebody purchases a piece of mine, whether it's a small magnet to an original, that they're taking their hard-earned money that they could spend anywhere in the world, especially with the web, and they're spending it with me. So it's like I win a blue ribbon every time. And I never forget that. Never forget that.
That's so good.
Yeah, and I think, how did your business help you get through something like 2020, like COVID, where, people weren't necessarily prioritizing going out and spending their money on art, and they were, just struggling to get by? How did that affect, how you look at your business?
So when COVID happened in 2020, you have to look at it at a timeline. So let's just say from 93 to 2019, Dad and I had set a base of collectors. We would do 1 to 2 shows a month, year-round, cross-country, literally from Connecticut, Skemetson with the Pequots, all the way down to L.A. with Auntie. There probably wasn't a show on the Artist Trail that we have not done. So when COVID hit, I already had a very established website, and the collectors, they just came through. They knew that artists were struggling. They knew that we were not having live shows. And so they helped me out by ordering on my website. So having that established website, I was able to weather the storm of COVID.
One of the things we wanted to talk to you about is the Artist Recovery Act for the Cherokee Nation. I know that's helped out a lot of people. How have you seen that impact the art community?
I think it's a great thing. With that Recovery Act, it has helped artists, navigate the cost of doing a show. When somebody comes to a show, you see the display all up. It looks nice. It's like, I would liken it to a glacier. You're seeing the top, but you're not seeing this much of the bottom that it took to get us there, to that show. So with the Artist Recovery Act, I know for me it has helped, with the expenses of like Santa Fe Indian Market, doing an ad, helping pay for a booth. So all of those little things, they help an artist to navigate the ebbs and flows. And it has just been a tremendous help for artists.
And like you said, you were pretty established at this point. The Rabbit name is out there. But you do mentor a lot of younger artists. And I noticed that the Cherokee Nation Bill Rabbit Legacy Scholarship. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys use that to grow young artists and to develop people who are interested in art?
So when I started that was actually in 2013, a year after my dad passed. And I quickly realized that I could not get the word out on my own. So I partnered with Cherokee Nation Foundation because they go to schools and they had more of an outlet to reach students. And number one, maintaining, or I don't know if maintaining is the right word, but my dad's legacy, I don't want people to forget who he was. And so in that aspect, you have to continue to show their work, continue to say their name, and continue to tell their stories. And so through the scholarship, I am able, to do that and to pay it forward to an upcoming student. And it, when it started, there was a little bit of confusion. It's only got to be painters, but it covers all the arts. The only stipulation that I had is that I wanted it to go to a student, within our district, because this is where I was born and raised. This is where I went to school, and wanted it to go to a Cherokee citizen. But with that being said, they could go to any school. I had a student that she went to Florida art school. So it's not like they have to go to school here. They can go anywhere. But, just giving that encouragement to a young artist. And also, I guess, role model. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable with that word. But I just want young artists to know that it's possible. Because I watched my dad do it. I had an excellent role model. And I hope that I'm a role model for some, and my studio there in Pryor, it's an open door. I have artists come in. I'm an open book. They can come in. They can see, my equipment. They got a question about it, how we do things. I mean, it is a fully functioning studio. The painting part is in the back, but there's so many aspects that are available to an artist. And I would say that it's very important for an upcoming artist to have a large price range, like I was telling you earlier. I do magnets to originals. That's a big price gap, but not everybody can afford that original. My dad, he always instilled in me, I guess because I watched him do it time and time again, that he was a artist of the people, and he wanted everybody to have something of his or ours in their home.
Yeah, and I think that's probably important for artists to think about is you might want to be the prestigious one in the gallery, but for people to connect with your work, the magnets, the stickers, those are going to be the things that people see. You walk around the complex here and you can probably find 100 laptops with Traci Rabbit or Bill Rabbit stickers on them, because that's the accessible thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to say also to go with some of the stuff that you make or that your art is on, I kind of wanted to talk about the clothing items. Mm-hmm. I actually have like a poster of Marilyn Monroe in my office, and she's showing her booty a little on the side. So I was like, I'm going to get something nice and put around her, something Cherokee-fied. And I saw one of your shawls, and I was like, I'm going to get one of those and wrap it around her. So I kind of want to talk about that. How did you get into putting some of your artwork in clothing?
Well, I tell you, I've always loved fashion. And as a young, chunky native girl that was built kind of like a boy in my younger days.
we all were.
You're more broad, in your shoulders and more narrow in your hips. And so I learned how to alter my clothes, especially swimsuits, not knowing what I was doing. My dad bought me my first sewing machine, I remember, in 9th grade. And I would just get in there and I would just start altering. And I would sew, and I'd try it on, and I'd sew again, try it on, rip it out. I mean, fashion has always been something that I've been interested in. And I always wanted something different when I was in school. I mean, I was really probably the oddball when big earrings or whatever was not popular, especially native jewelry. I mean, I was the one wearing it. I was the one wearing it. So with that being said, I'm always looking for a new product. And when people run out of wall space, they can wear art.
Oh, yeah.
And so and when I dive into something, I dive deep. And that's what's happened with that. And so, like, right now, I'm already creating things for the fall. So you got to work 6 months, 8 months in advance on things like that. So, I mean, I've been really happy with how it's turned out. And for me, packaging, it's important because you want to be professional, that where a museum store, the gift shop here in town, it looks pretty on their shelf. So you have to think about all the marketing. And that's where, like I said, the business side of art, I enjoy it just as much as creating the art.
100%. That's awesome. Just so you know, your fashion, I always think you're a fashion icon. Every time I see your photos or like videos of you, I'm like, wow, it looks so great.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I just wanted to compliment you on that.
Thank you.
And I feel like you have like a signature ponytail. That's what I was thinking.
It's because I'm lazy with my hair.
But it looks great. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's signature.
I mean, it's easy. And curling long hair, it takes time.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it kind of has become a signature look. I mean, you just pull it back in a ponytail, put a ribbon or a hair tie in it, and you're good to go.
Yeah. No, like, how Ariana Grande, she had that signature pony?
Yes.
That yours is a pony, signature pony.
Cherokee Ariana Grande is now
Yeah.
on your website. We were talking about your father's legacy. He was a national treasure, one of the first for painting, correct?
He was the first, yes.
And you became a Cherokee National Treasure in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've talked that.
I'm a COVID treasure.
Yeah, a COVID treasure.
Which, honestly, Colton, it worked out great for me because I've always been okay being in the background. I mean, I can talk about and promote my dad all day long. I could always do that. I can still do that. But promoting myself, like on social media and things like that, it has always been difficult because when I was young and my parents were raising me, I was taught you don't brag. You don't, do all of this. And within the social media realm, to me, it's a dichotomy because you almost feel like I'm putting it out there, I'm bragging what I'm doing, but I'm not really a bragging type person. But what I'm finding out is I've really lacked on that, and I have to get better. First person in my family to go to college, first person to graduate with a degree. I didn't even want to go to the graduation and walk across the stage. It's just not who I am. I don't have to be in the limelight or the forefront. And my dad was, oh, no, you're walking across that stage. You're walking across that stage because I want to see you. Do you know that every semester I was in college, he wrote a check for my school? It was something that, I guess, being a proud dad, he wanted to say he did, and my girl did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wanted to see me walk across that stage, and I did. I did it for him, so.
Aw, I love that. I love that story.
And people like to see that backstory, like what you were saying. So I'm trying to post more things about what I'm doing or, and to me, I'm thinking, that's just crazy. But then I'll get messages, oh, thank you for sharing that story. So I'm starting to share stories, things that my dad has taught me. Or, if it's a particular piece and there's a story behind it, I'm getting better about sharing those stories because somebody may gain insight from that story, but I'm trying to get better about that.
I feel like we could just talk all day about your dad. Is there any other, do you have any memories, good, fun memories of you and your dad?
I would say probably one of my most favorite memories was when he asked me to help him on a national project, towards the end of his time here. Especially after he had his stroke. We worked on a lot of projects together. And I would say my proudest, most favorite memory would have been us working together on projects. And I'm proud to say that Cherokee Nation owns every original that we collaborated together on. Mm-hmm. And the last one after he passed, we were working on it. And it took me, I think, 3, almost 4 years to complete the painting. And when I finally did, I mean, and they were gracious enough to allow me that time, that space, because it was hard. It was very hard, very hard. But I have so many fond memories because he was just, like I said earlier, he was an exceptional human, very caring, good guidance. Him and my mom made me the person that I am today. Yeah, very blessed with good parents, and my mom is still here with us.
Oh, that's good. So, Traci, we talked a lot about art and you as an artist. What is something else that brings you joy?
At the top of my list, my world revolves around my family, without a doubt. And what brings me joy is riding my bike. I'd like to do the removal ride if I could fit that in my schedule, if they allow, old ladies to do that.
You'd be biking circles around some of those folks.
Yeah, you should do it. You really should.
But I would have to say the top of my list would be family. Family, close friends, and my dog.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a mini Australian Shepherd. His name is Jax. He's got one blue eye, one brown eye. He's going to be 11 years old this year. He was born on 9/11. His birthday's easy to remember.
Oh, that's precious.
He likes to ride around in that car too. I've seen.
Oh yeah, social. He goes everywhere. He goes to work with me every day. Wherever I can take him, he goes.
Oh. Speaking of traveling, what are some cool places that you've traveled?
Well, I would say the coolest place that I've been would have been the land and sea Alaska trip.
Nice.
That is something that is just indescribable. You can take all the pictures, look at all the pictures you want, but until you're there, it's amazing. Art-wise, I would say really enjoyed Yellowstone, Jackson Hole. I mean, the Rocky Mountains are beautiful, Denver, Colorado, but to me, there's nothing like the Grand Tetons, nothing. That area. And, my dad was born and raised in Casper, Wyoming. So I just have this connection with that area and all the stories that he told me as he was growing up there. And when he got out of Vietnam is when my grandpa had moved back to Oklahoma. So, a lot of people ask the question, being Cherokee, but why did your dad paint headdresses and da-da-da, all this stuff? And they're asking these questions without knowing his background. I mean, he went to school with the Shoshone, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, the Crow out there. Those were his friends. And so that's what he was around. He would come back to Oklahoma every summer, stay with his grandma. But that's what he was raised around. So you have to take that into perspective of his art. And when you look at his art, like I said, I could talk about him for days. He was like 5 artists in one body because he never let anybody put their thumb on him and tell him what to paint. He experimented in all kinds of things. He did not just go down one road. He went down all kinds of roads. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the scope of his work, I mean, it's really just so interesting to me. Yeah. He was never afraid to experiment or try anything. I mean, he taught himself how to make Native American, silver jewelry. He was self-taught in that just because he knew how to weld. He just thought, well, I'm just going to try it. And he did. I remember watching him make jewelry on our kitchen table at Cherokee Heights. He was just never afraid to try anything. And I think that's what he instilled in me. Don't be afraid to jump out there and do it.
Try something.
Yeah. He said the worst they can tell you is no. And so I guess that's the reason I've never been afraid to try something.
Yeah.
And if you fail, you really don't fail. You learn.
Yeah.
You don't learn. So I'm asking myself, what lesson am I supposed to be learning with my truck getting stolen twice? And I don't know what that lesson is. Let go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what I love about whenever you find out people are self-taught artists is that no one had an influence in like saying, hey, that's wrong and that's right. They are able to take their own creativity and turn it into something that's beautiful. So I love that you and your dad are both self-taught. Like I respect that so much.
I know there's a painting that I have at the studio. It was given to me, and I remember and we talked about blocks, creativity, and things like that earlier. And I was having that creative block. Had to prepare for a show with him, and I was just like, oh gosh, what do I paint? There's just nothing in here today. And he said, come here, I'm going to show you something. And he literally took out this piece of paper, and he did a whole painting with nothing but his hand. He said, you're overthinking it. He goes, you need to have fun. You need to find the fun in it. And it was a warrior. And I mean, he even painted with his fingertip and did the feathers with his hands. And I mean, you can literally see his thumbprints on this piece. But he showed me that Don't take life too serious. Have fun with it. When you hit that roadblock, have fun. You're trying to be too serious, too perfect. You need to have fun. Go back to the joy of being a kid and when art was fun.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that it's essential for artists to not look at it as a job at some point. How do you keep from your passion turning into a job like a lot of people?
That's tough because it is a job.
Yeah.
It is a job. For me, you have to be self-disciplined. I'm not required to be there at the studio at any certain time. I don't have to punch a time clock. So along with that comes discipline. And when your passion turns into a career, it's a way of shifting gears in your head. And it still is your passion, but you also have to pay the light bill and make the car payments. You got to switch gears in your head. But then when you hit that roadblock, you come back to center, you come back to yourself. And then I remember that story that I just told. Okay, Traci, you're looking at these blank canvases on this gigantic easel that I have in my studio. You need to get, and I can hear my dad, get back to the fun of it again. And so now, I'll do small sketches. I keep a notebook in my purse when an idea hits me because it can come out of nowhere. And now I believe I will not have enough time in my lifetime to paint everything that's in my little notebooks and in my head.
I was thinking about this on the drive-in. You mentioned res dogs, and I feel like it's brought this concept to the forefront of the American mindset of the auntie, that strong Native woman in your life that, keeps you connected, might have to set you straight once in a while.
And I'm your bonus auntie, Colton.
Exactly. I feel like as somebody who didn't grow up necessarily in the culture, as immersed as some of the folks around here did, I think you were always the auntie and the one to look up to, and you were the person, especially in Mays County, that I would look at and be like, well, you can do what you're passionate about for a living. And, Mays County is a blue-collar area, and like you said, you've had people tell you not to do it in your life. But I think you are the Mays County Cherokee auntie that inspires all these artists around there to follow their passion and shows that you can make a living out of it.
That's probably one of the best compliments that I could get. It really is. If I could show young people that anything is possible with the hard work. And I remember my dad telling me, like I said, at a very young age, nothing in this life is free. If you want it, go work for it. And so that is the mentality that I still maintain today. You're always striving for that next level or something new, something, within the gift line, because it is my gift line that sustains me through the ebbs and flows of the art career, doing it full time. And I think a lot of artists, because that was not always a popular concept early on. It was not. I remember there were artists that would call my dad a prostitute. And I was old enough to remember that vernacular and that language. But I remember his answer, because I asked him, does that hurt your feelings? And he says, no, it don't hurt my feelings. They don't pay my light bill. And I never forgot that. Never forgot that. So I don't take into consideration maybe what everybody else is doing. I stay in my path, what my lane is of what I want to do, and everybody's level of success as an artist is different.
Not very many like you out there, Traci. I'm glad you were able to join us today. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for your contributions, and thanks for sitting down with us today.
Lotto, Traci.
Siyo from the Res was recorded at the W.W. Keeler Tribal Complex in Tahlequah on the Cherokee Nation Reservation.
This episode was hosted by Kinley Keys and Colton Brandstetter.
Our producer is Brian Dugan.
Our podcast art was designed by Justine Eden.
This episode was edited by Samantha Robinson and Colton Brandstetter.
Soundtrack by Chuj Mackey.
If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and leave a review. It'll help more people find us. Please share this episode with your family and friends, especially some of our elders who may not be on social media or listen to podcasts.
And don't forget to follow Cherokee Nation on social media for podcast updates and behind-the-scenes content.
Wado for listening. If you aren't a regular listener already, be sure to check out Dennis Sixkiller's Cherokee Voices, Cherokee Sounds, which paved the way for a show like this. And be sure to check back for future episodes of Siyo from the Res everywhere you listen to podcasts, because we have some exciting guests lined up.
Until next time, stay connected, watch out for one another, and Siyo from the Res. Slowly,